Welcome to Beyond Expectations, in an effort to build rapport with our listeners who want holistic wellness in their lives
and are looking to expand from what they already know beyond expectations.
Welcome to episode 2.
Yay!
We're here. We made it. Go us.
Yeah.
Go team. So to start out our segment today, we'd like to draw a mindfulness pool. And what that means is I have a set of cards in my office, at my therapy office, where I do counseling. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I work primarily with children and families, and I practice a lot with mindfulness. And in the office, these cards have different sayings or requests on them related to a mindful action or practice. So I thought it'd be a great way for us to get grounded, to get present.
It's a fun game.
Yeah. So go ahead and pick a card.
I've never done this before. Let's see. I don't want to pick an obvious one.
We'll make it obvious. The color?
The color. And it was a heart. Look at that. I was trying to avoid it, and I still got the heart card.
Oh, you still got it.
Still got it.
All right, let me pull one. Let's see. Let me not look, because I go for what's specific.
Right.
Grabbed one. Oh, and I still got the moon. Isn't that funny? Oh no. Also in my head, when she said I was trying not to get the heart, I was thinking, well, if I had to look, I would choose the one with the moon.
And
so let me close my eyes.
That's awesome. See?
I still got the moon card. Okay, well, I'll start since I made you draw first.
Okay.
My moon card says stillness. Imagine curling up on the couch of the blanket and drink your cocoa slowly, feeling the sweet chocolate warm your belly.
That sounds good to me.
That does sound nice.
When you read that, what are you supposed to do with that?
I think this vision of sitting with the warm hot chocolate and feeling it warm in your belly is supposed to settle you and help you come to stillness.
Okay.
You know, because we could be moving, and life goes so fast. We have things to do, places to be.
Very true. It did grab me. I was thinking of myself drinking hot chocolate on a rainy day. And on top of the fact, it doesn't hurt that you have a very good narrative voice. Like I'm listening, you know how those audiobooks, and they have these, speakers or whatever that read the book. You have a very good voice.
Oh, really? Thank you. That's funny. Yeah, you're always saying something about me that I didn't think about before.
Yeah, because like when you're reading that, I was like, your voice was very nice to go with what you're saying, so I was convinced.
Good.
It's a little
Imagine
sultry.
curling up.
Okay, now you're doing too much. All right, so mine it's red, it has a heart on it, and I was trying to avoid the heart, and I still got the heart. Okay, and it says listening. In the next moment, listen to all the different sounds in the room. How many can you hear? Where are the sounds coming from? Which sounds do you find pleasant? So I'm going to take a moment. Okay. So funny that I pulled this card because I'm always on the go and I'm not in the present moment to listen, so yeah, very appropriate, because my mind is always thinking. So if you're thinking, you're not often listening, right?
Yeah, waiting to answer.
Right, waiting to answer or having an opinion to yourself, or what does it mean? It just jumps to so many different levels. So the things that I heard was, the first thing I heard was the cars, but the cars were kind of like also kind of sounded like water sometimes. And then I would hear, it's very quiet in here, but then I'd hear little rickets and stuff here, and then I heard you swallow.
I heard me swallow too. I think everybody heard me swallow.
You're a loud swallower, is that what it is? Just don't be a loud chewer, okay?
Okay. I'll try to work on it.
But I guess that kind of goes with I think you pick the sound that is the most consistent, right? So even in meditation, you want to hear a sound that it's do you want, right? You want to pay attention to sound that's more
I
consistent.
like to pay attention to sound. I think, meditation is individual to each of us.
Right, but
I
is
think we
it
have a
better
practice.
to listen to a sound that's rhythmic and consistent as
that's
opposed
nice.
to kind of all over the place, right? So I'm thinking,
I think it would be easier to follow a sound.
right, as opposed to then hearing one sound, then to the next sound, to the one
that
sound.
would
then,
probably make you really intensively concentrating.
yeah. So I automatically was hearing the most consistent sound, which was the cars.
Cars outside,
Yeah.
that's what you heard right now?
Yeah.
That's nice. So I love when the cards, let me see your card.
Mm-hmm.
I love when the cards kind of force you to do something in the moment.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Because you took us with you. You said, in the next moment, listen to all the sounds in the room, and then you got quiet and just listened, and I just watched you. And it was nice. How many can you hear? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
That's cool. I think this should be a game that all families should play.
A mindful practice moment?
Yeah.
I agree. I should take some home. One whole stack. So thanks for sharing that with us, listeners. That was fun.
So you guys get these mindful cards, try them out.
Yeah. So the reason why we brought up mindfulness cards, and it's a part of Carly and I think, personal practices, is because it's really useful in this effort to have self-care in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of my personal missions in doing this podcast, is talking about opportunities for self-care, talking about opportunities to just do wonderful things and sharing it with people and giving them inspiration to do wonderful things too, right? So I think we have to start at the foundation now. Like, what is the foundation of us, and how can we build a foundation enough of us so that we can be great? And we need self-care to do that. We need self-love. So I'd like to start with talking about stress.
Yeah.
Self-care is necessary because of stress.
Yep.
So what you think about that? Any thoughts?
Man, stress. Ugh. What can't you not say about stress? I think that, there's different types of stress, right? Different levels of stress. And some stress, it's obvious, and some stress is subtle. So I think that it's more about self-care, has to be with self-awareness, right? So, I'm a very emotional person. So if we were to be in tune with a situation or circumstances that we think might become stressful, maybe that's the first step, is to be aware that you might step into something that's stressful. So then you can prepare yourself to better handle the problem or the situation. Now, often that's really hard. Sometimes you're just going about life so often, and then it just kind of all comes at once. Just like sometimes emotions will do the same. So, preventative measures, I guess. So instead of dealing with it when you're stressed, just like dealing with something when you're already emotional, is not as effective as opposed to doing something preventative. So try to do stuff before you get to that point where you become overstressed.
Yes, and stress is just gonna be normal, right? It's gonna be a part of life. And I think that when we let it pile up to unhealthy amounts for long periods of time, then it wears on our physical bodies, and it's not just stressful thoughts, it's stressful bellies and symptoms that you think are like something serious, like a heart attack, but it's a panic attack that is coming because you're anxious because of all these thoughts that are in your head that you're just not addressing.
Yes.
And I think it's only when we give ourselves times to pause and take a breath that we kind of do get into a space where we're like, oh gee, I have a headache. Oh gee, oh my goodness, I'm really hungry.
We're so
like that.
Unaware.
Yeah, we're not aware because we're just moving and doing what we have to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's necessary because you got that hustle mindset.
Yeah.
I have it too. Like sometimes I go without eating, or I go without doing things.
Going with your saying is, just lately I've been hearing about people who are dying asymptomatic with stroke or with any cardiovascular disease, well, mostly stroke, where it just comes
or gut
out
issues,
out of nowhere, and they had no symptoms, or or the symptoms were there, but they were right. So if you have a stressful life and you're constantly having a headache, and you're overlooking that headache as you're like, oh, that's just life, that's just stress, that's just whatever.
That's just what my body
That's
does.
just right.
Yeah.
And then when the body is speaking to you, you're not even gonna pick that up.
You're not even gonna listen to it.
That's what's scary. Your body is disconnected.
The thing is, the body's talking to you, but also your irritability, your all the things that are happening, your sex drive, all the things that are suffering is not only your body. All of that is talking to you.
Yes, but we're so caught up on accepting. Stress is necessary, of course, but accepting that we have headaches, so that's just the norm for me. Or if I have a tummy ache, oh, that's just the norm for me. And I think we start accepting certain stresses or certain things in our lives instead of maybe trying to I mean, it's some things, like I said, I feel like we need to deal with. I mean, we have to, it's part of life. But some things I think we really need to tune in and figure out, do I need to have a headache every single day? Do I need to have a bellyache every single day? Maybe that's something I need to change in my diet. Maybe it's time for me to be more aware of what I'm eating, or if I'm not drinking enough water, or if I'm not taking still time, start implementing those things instead of just accepting.
I agree.
Tolerating.
Well, I think some people don't even realize they're just tolerating it, just the way it is. There is generational stress, that I feel that there's a lot of research going into how trauma travels, genetically, and we can just keep being re-exposed to trauma after trauma after trauma and complex trauma. So, it goes deeper and deeper and deeper to how stress affects us, witnessing things that are harmful to us, hearing about things, even vicariously, it's stressful. And then even lesser than that, financial, will I have a job tomorrow? Will things change tomorrow? What's going to happen in the future? All these little worries, and they don't feel little ever.
No. We start having tunnel vision. I had this conversation where one of my clients was just having anxiety when she was working out with me. She wouldn't tell me indulgent what it was, but she would breathe heavy, and I could tell that she was anxious about something. And I had to remind her, I was like, sometimes, there's so much. Just know that right now what you're thinking, there's so much more beyond that. When we're stressed, we have tunnel vision. We can only see that situation, and we forget that there's a whole other world and other things going on that's much more beautiful and great and grand. But we just focus on that. And that being said, also is that also I think leads to people who are suicidal. I don't want to get is they lose all perspective. It's like just that one thing. So if it's a financial situation where they're like, man, I'm not making money, I'm stressed because I'm not bringing in money to provide for my family, and that's their whole identity, right? They think their identity is making and being a provider, and feel like if they fail that identity, then they feel like the worth of life. It's sad to think that that's all there is to give in this life, is that whatever they attach themselves to. And
I think that's kind of cultural.
Things.
I think that's an American culture type deal.
Yeah.
I don't think only Americans are suicidal. No. I'm not linking that to what you're saying. But I do think the idea that we must be productive in order to be valuable is highly, pimped even by me.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, hustle, do what you got to do
that's
the work.
That's what we're taught.
That's what we're taught.
Yeah.
And I think there is an aspect of it that's necessary. Like we do have to do the work. Like if we know that we're having stomach pain and headaches constantly, or we just don't take care of ourselves because we generally feel bad all the time, like we don't have energy to leave the house and go on a walk or do anything like that, that's a state of ill health that we are responsible of being aware of.
Yeah.
And doing something different to change it. And I think that's where we have the responsibility to do something, like as individuals, and that's where the work needs to be done. So when I say do the work and hustle, I mean you have to realize what it is that's not letting you be your optimum self.
Right.
Like you have to sit there and go step by step through. And you have to realize there will be flaws. We're all human. We're not perfect, like in personality and who we are to other people, all that, right?
Yeah.
But still we have a responsibility to ourselves and society
to be our best.
To be our best, because we're not going to be as productive like everybody wants us to be, right? Because we shouldn't be.
Right.
We're operating on half fuel.
Yeah.
So how can we be operating at 4 jobs and I'm doing this and I'm also a YouTube person and I do that.
Yeah.
You know, people are doing so much. And when I have a conversation with someone, I say,
everybody's
hey,
Jamaican.
What's going on? Yeah, everybody's Jamaican. Yes, you're so funny.
Multiple jobs.
Yeah, that's the stereotype about Jamaicans. Oh, hilarious.
But let's go back to the whole generational stress.
Yes.
What it is, you know, you pick up inherently values
As a kid,
yeah. How your parents were, how you were raised, what's important. Education was really important to me. I was installed that that's very important. So having that A, oh my gosh, I need to get that A.
And we have the Asian stereotype of they have all the A's.
Yeah, oh yeah. I deflated that.
Oh, you did?
But you know, and I think it's the pressures that not only that is cultural or from your parents or expectations, but also what we set for ourselves and we carry that on. You know, sometimes that I know that yes, my parents wanted me to be successful, but I think we, if I may say the word, actually make it exaggerated, right? Ourselves. So if my parents wanted me to do great, I feel like as an adult, I always put on like I'm not enough. Now my parents never said that, but I have now made that a part of my, what's the word? Give me the word, the technical. It's become
your
part
essence.
of a, yeah, but not. I don't want to call it essence because it's not necessarily a good thing. I don't think, but it has become part of who I am. Yeah, essentially. But my fighting battle. That it's become a part of me that I'm always struggling to fight.
Oh,
like,
it's your image, your self-image that is not necessarily true. It's just something you're projecting to yourself.
Everybody has that.
Yeah.
And we develop that, right? We develop my parents didn't say you were not enough.
Yeah.
But I have installed that into me that I wasn't.
Yeah, right? I think we started really young. Like my son, he's just started kindergarten, and he's already having like parent-teacher conferences about whether or not he knows how to write capital A through Z and lowercase and every single number and recognizes all the colors. And I'm like, well, did he just start? I know what he should know, and I want him to know.
Right.
But I'm not going to go to him and be like, your grades was because I don't know. I just feel like he's so young. I do want him to learn, but I want him to learn through art and through like recognition as opposed to feeling stressed about learning. But I think he likes school, but I think it just starts so soon, the measurement of learning, because everybody's so different.
Right.
You can't expect like a room of 15 children to all learn exactly the same in the same manner. So I think that kind of informs this idea of performance and staying with the path.
And what grade is he in?
Kindergarten. That's kindergarten. And even starting in preschool. And I wouldn't even say it was even kindergarten. In preschool, we had those parent-teacher conferences about whether he had done his homework the night before. And I was like, he is 4.
Right.
You know, and I would just giggle a little bit. I'm just not one of those parents who cried because my son didn't get this, but he's doing very well. I'm not even saying that.
Right.
I just don't pressure.
Right.
But his dad is different. He's like, he's behind and he doesn't know. He used to know this and now he doesn't know this.
Yeah, so maybe that goes with the type of personality you are, right? Are you more analytical or are you more creative?
Yeah, I'm totally that more creative one.
Yeah, and
it shows in the parenting.
Yeah, and I the older I become, the more analytical I've become. So
you are watching those grades at preschool, huh?
Yeah, I think I would. I would be one of those people who be like, okay, and taking it personally. And that's another thing parents need to not do. So it probably get harder, easier said than done. But I would probably take it personally, like, oh, he's not succeeding. What is he doing wrong? What am I doing not to make him do his grades? Or I would take it as I'm doing something personally wrong to not motivate him or whatever. So instead of allowing you, like you're saying, more freedom of the process and the growth to happen naturally, probably, right?
Well, I will tell you that initially, whenever anything happens with my son, I immediately first think, what could I have done better, differently? Not with regret, but just think it through a little bit.
Right.
And that always comes with a little bit of mom guilt. Like, oh, should I have read more to him and then he would have known more words on that little test?
Right.
Or should I have, because there are times when I don't read the whole book. He's asleep already, so yay!
Right.
I don't have to read the whole book. So I think part of it was I could do better, but I'm doing enough. I love my son and I'm there for him and I'm teaching him and I'm getting him to school and the teachers are doing a good job in teaching him and he's going to learn. And that's what I feel about it. But I talk myself through that. You know, you heard the way I just went through it.
Right.
That's what I tell myself. It's not that I'm telling anybody else that. I don't have a conversation with anyone else about it, but what makes me feel good about relaxing with my son and not feeling stressed about whether he can remember that A or that E when I repeat it, because it's not about me or him passing or knowing what he needs to know. He's going to know because he wants to know. I want to instill a love of learning.
There you go.
And passion and play and life and enjoyment.
Right.
That's what self-care is, and I think we also need to incorporate it in our parenting.
So when do you feel like freedom of thought, a little bit more freedom versus discipline? So, obviously structure and discipline is important to install as well as expression and creativity and
this is the rules. I'm very disciplined for the most part there. I guess what I'm saying is I'm trying not to incorporate discipline in the idea of learning because I don't feel that everyone learns the same, so you can't be so rigid there, but you could be rigid about bedtimes and you're not allowed to eat sweets after this time or you're going to get cavities and you have to do what I say because I'm your mom. Like, I'm still doing that, and I think that is stressful in a way to kids because they have to learn to take that. They have to learn to look at mom not letting them get what they want, because we kind of do it when they're younger. We let them get what they want when they're so cute and little and they can't talk and you can't have this. Now those are your babies, but as they get older you have a responsibility to say no and to let them know what's not safe, and then model for them healthy behavior. So they're going to see you not taking care of yourself, not taking breaks, overworking yourself, and they're going to think that's the way you do it. And then that's how stress becomes, we went full circle back to it, right? That's how stress has become, I guess, generational. We're all just stressed, and we're all just showing each other how to be stressed. And there's not really a practice in place to do the other. And I think when we see people doing the other, we think they're like, that crazy girl over there who likes breathing, or she likes yoga, or that lady takes a walk every day. I wish I was like that. No, people, this is just who you have to be.
Well, and then in talking about the generation stress, we also talking about, generational stress as in also not inherently, but also generation as in this is the millennial time where there's social media, there's all kinds of things that people are exposed to. Podcasts. Well, hopefully it's a positive thing, but there's also a lot of comparisons that is out there. So, so two topics, right? Going off, I was trying to touch on the discipline because we're talking about how having a lack of discipline sometimes will lead kids to, funny enough, to have anxiety when they come to real life. Let's say that if we give a whole bunch of praise to the kid, right? What is it? Trophy? What's it?
Everybody gets a trophy.
Everybody gets a trophy. It's great. It develops growth and confidence, but when you get in life, they're not going to give you trophies every single time.
Well, they just lack an opportunity, as many opportunities as they could to build resilience and coping skills. Because with everything that kind of knocks you down, like when you're a kid, like we go back to children, they're the easiest little stories to pull up because people can envision children. They were children, right? So like when a kid's running outside and they scrape their knee, and they get up, they realize, oh, I shouldn't run that fast anymore on this wet ground. So they learn their lesson, and that's building their resilience.
Exactly.
So I think what's happening is sometimes we get so overprotective in a world that seems pretty unsafe. We as adults have our own anxieties about having children. So sometimes we're not doing as many play dates, so kids are less social. And when they are doing play dates, maybe they're doing video game play dates, or they're doing those, where you can talk to each other through the video games, and that's where they're doing all their socialization. I've had a lot of clients, adolescent, that I've had kids who are my clients were best friends via these video games. They just talked every day after school for hours and hours.
Yeah.
And that's a mental social experiment that I think is new, you know, and I think it's lacking the physical. So when you talk about self-care involves mind, body, and spirit. So if we leave out body,
Right.
And although you do stand up sometimes to shoot, or maybe you have the video game where you can move and stuff, I think fresh air and sunshine or group movement or different things like that, like just getting your body moving in fresh air, or if not fresh air with other people, it's all energetic.
You know, I don't have any kids, but I can only imagine what I would be like as a parent by how I treat my dogs.
Yeah.
Now my dog will fall. I'll be like, all right, come on, get back, or jump on the bed and hits his face. I'll be like, all right, let's try it again. Let's try it again. You know, I'm very tough because I want to show that you don't give up. You just keep going. Yeah. So I think there's different parenting when it comes to everybody. Obviously has the great intentions to have different methods of parenting, but it was just, you know, we had talked about how different sometimes stresses or can help growth. Right.
Definitely, a little stress can build resilience, and that's what we're bringing up this whole time. And I think you were mentioning generation stress because there was an article in a magazine we were talking about earlier, Centennial Health, called Generation Stress by Alyssa Schaefer, and it just talks about how like kids are afraid of failing, and that we're not talking to kids about hard things, so they don't know how to deal with hard things. And I, you know, suggest parents, if you're out there, any parents of any teens, to get your kid into therapy, not because they need therapy and they're crazy or anything's wrong with them, but because teenage years are where it's hard to find someone to talk about dark thoughts or things that come up that seem embarrassing about your body or about anything that's going on, and you might be afraid, and especially if you're a male, maybe you don't want to express that to someone and you want to appear strong. So having a safe space for your child to go to, someone they like, not that it's the best therapist in the world with the best credentials going to do the best test, but if your child likes that therapist and wants to be there, they're more likely going to be able to express negative emotions in a safe space and then not hold on to them. And that makes healthier kids. Healthier kids who want to do things that are positive, because the more you keep stressing your body, the less you want to engage and be positive. Get your kids to join things. If they're not interested in joining anything, that's a red flag. You know, I'm so glad we're getting into this because kids can be stressed too. This is not only an adult, you know, it's our problem only. Kids, we can pretend to kids, we can tell them everything's okay with our mouths, but they know with everything they got, they're intuitive. Yes, they are.
More
intuitive
than adults are.
We're not humans.
We're not humans. Adults, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, more so than ever. They pick up on everything.
They do. I love me some kitties though. You know, when mine gets talking back to me, I get frustrated, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm a parent. And because I remember being a therapist to children before I was a parent, and parents kind of expressing to me their frustrations and me not really getting it because I'm like, oh, this wonderful child. But I get it because kids will frustrate us. They will have behaviors that might be indicators of their stress. You know, they might not just know how to deal with it, and that's a great opportunity to develop a self-care routine between you and your child and figure it out together.
You know, holding on to your thoughts and emotions or not openly being able to express yourself will, especially when you get older, will cause anxiety, will cause depression. It leads to different expressions of stress. And then at the end, it really starts taking away your self-value, of your worth, or what you have to offer, or a positive self-identity or confidence, which obviously we don't want to hinder that when you're young. We want to be able to flourish that when you're young.
It's lifelong that we have to take care of ourselves. And I think that one of the ways that we can check in is to just always notice that we're breathing. So that's our homework to our listeners, is to start to notice when you are breathing. So let's, take a moment to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then take an inhale in through your nose and an exhale through your nose. and you took a breath. And that's your homework, because I don't think sometimes we do that. And I think having a practice of doing that one time a day to just give yourself a pause is important, you know.
It's so interesting how something that simple that we don't even do.
We don't do it. I don't do it sometimes. So,
And it's something
my
so
body forces
simple.
me to. My body now has these little things that says, Nikki, you need to breathe. My stomach hurts very frequently when I start giving myself too many things to do, and I'm internally sitting there worried about how it's going to get done, but my mind doesn't know I'm worried about it. I'm literally not thinking about it. I'm running errands. I'm doing what I have to do. I'm at a yoga class, but my anxiety comes in this bellyache, and I have to sit there and ground myself. I have to do the deep belly breath from belly up to chest and do it like 3 to 5 times in a sequence until it's gone. And then I could keep it pushing. And, that's my practice. And that's what I try to teach to my clients who are anxious, because it exists. Body, somatic symptoms of anxiety, of stress exist. You don't even have to have anxiety, and you can feel what I just described.
Right.
And it just means you're going through a stressful period.
Yeah.
And it's your body's warning that you need to breathe.
Yeah.
And you need to let your body know that you need to relax. It's time to relax. The dinosaurs are not chasing you right now. if we were in caveman times and the dinosaurs were coming and you felt all that, it'd be right, because you should be running. You should be trying to find the cave.
Even then, you'll be breathing.
You'll be breathing hard.
Yes.
But some people stop breathing when they're under attack, and they just hide. So maybe they're the person that when the dinosaur comes, they don't run.
Right.
They just hide
and stay still.
and they freeze.
Yeah.
Or whatever they're going to do. There's all kind of people make a fight, flight.
So I got to practice that. So the breathing.
Breathing
just something very simple is inhaling, exhaling. I haven't incorporated it, but I find like we did with the car, staying still. It's hard for me to stay still, listen to sound, which I did for a little bit, for a long period. But chanting, I found, was very helpful.
Yeah, I heard that was useful.
It keeps. I can't stay still, so me mumbling something, it takes away the kinesthetic need of something. And so it takes the mind into what I'm saying, but then able to channel focus my thoughts into the chanting, I guess. So I need to get back into that, because that was very helpful. It's not going to be as simple as breathing exercises.
Yeah, but chanting, you need breath.
You do.
You need a lot of breath.
Yeah. Or maybe I'll just sing.
All of it takes breath. And that's why breath is the beginning.
Yep.
Chanting is going to be very useful, but if you have no breath practice, it's going to be hard to maintain, and maybe that's why it's fallen off a bit.
So let's end with that. You want to do a quick inhale, exhale, breathing? Can you guide us to that? And we'll end there.
Yeah. Let's everybody take a moment, get settled, straighten your back if it's not, planting your feet, getting your body prepared, taking a nice deep breath in through your nose, just getting a little bit of breath in there, letting it out through your nose. And this time we're going to do it again, a little bit deeper. Starting from the base, into the lower belly, in between the ribs, into the chest. Then holding it for a moment and letting it go with a nice woosah out the mouth. Last one. Inhale. And let it go. And with that, we appreciate you for joining us. And have a good time and a great day and a great night wherever you are, right?
Yes.
From beyond expectation.